Now we're going to talk about something that's very important to all of our lives, and it's something that you don't get a chance to talk about or to hear someone talk about, although it's very important, obviously, when I say the word freedom. We're going to talk about the decline of freedom in this country, some of the reasons for it, and maybe what's in the future. Point of departure is this book called The Democratic Promise, The Populist Moment in America. And with me is the author, professor at Duke University of History, Lawrence Goodwyn. Welcome to Montage.
Glad to be here, Joe.
Well, you know, we were talking before we started taping, and you said there are things that you don't talk about in our society. And I said, well, let's talk about them. So let's talk about some things now, which in your estimation are taboo in our society to talk about.
Well, let me preface this by saying that one of the ways that this decline in freedom that I've been talking about manifests itself is in sort of a mass resignation that Germans, Americans, Englishmen, Russians, members of socialist and capitalist countries don't really think that they can commit a political act, vote for somebody, that will substantively change their lives. And that's the source of our resignation. And there's sort of a massive disbelief in what they're hearing from the established political order. Yeah. In America, take a basic economic problem. Affects everybody in the country. Huge unemployment, rampant inflation. We know, I imagine 80% of the American people know that in the existing structure, you can do some things that will dampen inflation, but unfortunately that will increase unemployment. You can do a few other things. Jimmy Carter's trying to do it right now. That will help unemployment, but will fuel inflation. Well, the problem basically is structural. You know, societies fall when they admit to themselves they can't deal with their own problems. That's one of the things historians learn in studying the past. Civilizations fall because they are psychologically unable to deal with an overwhelming problem. If this country can't get itself into psychological, intellectual position to say we can solve unemployment and inflation at the same time, then we will fall.
We've got people watching and they're saying, that's right, I know what he means, I want to change, I want to do something, our societies, but what can I do? Have you got an answer?
Well, first thing there are a lot of cliches in America that I think that need to be buried. Now, I'll give you a partisan answer. So, one of the folk ways in America is to see businessmen running around the country, all dressed alike, with their little briefcases. They go to country clubs, the same kinds of country clubs, the same luncheon clubs, the same bars, see each other all the time, very narrow life. And they carry out the bidding of the company all of their life. You know what these people talk about politically? How about rugged individualism? Now, that's ridiculous. They're the most unindividualistic people in America, the average American businessman, harassed, fearful, worried about promotion, about the man next to him. I think we need to inspect the nature of American political cliches, first of all. I think there are a number of cliches that can be applied to the opponents. If that last shot got a number of Republicans, I think there are plenty to get contemporary Democrats. The idea you can throw money at problems, create a new structure.
Yeah, but let's go back to the personal basis. What do you say to the guy sitting next to you at the bar who says, gee, I miss the way my father lived in a small town in the Midwest, and he walked home for lunch, and he felt close in the church. And, you know, what do you say to this guy who lives in a city of 5 million people? Move out? Go back to your hometown? I mean, what's a rational response?
Not necessarily a persuasive one, but a rational one?
Yeah.
I would hope it could become persuasive in time, but I don't think it'd be persuasive right away. The first thing I'd say to him is, well, why don't you try to get control of your own life, which, and the first step toward that would be to lower your sights. Don't try to be vice president of the company. In fact, don't even work for that company at all. Find something you do like, and accept a drastic reduction in your standard of living because you don't enjoy that standard of living anyway. It's filling you with ulcers. And don't buy cars, or buy old cars, and drive them a long time. And you can live on a lot less money. Then just create space for you to think in. And we have become, by habit, not by preference, a consumer society for no other reason than it's out there.
But you know, we've been led to believe, Larry, that we have to keep consuming to keep the whole thing going. You know, we're led to believe if you don't buy, and I don't, but there are a lot of people who do, and have been made to feel by advertising and by economists that when the auto industry is sick, America's sick. Now, respond to that with what you just said.
I think that we've got plenty of things to do in this country with our productivity besides making 10 million cars a year. And, but we can't do that abruptly. That is to say, the issues we're talking about go to the very fundamental values of the society and what's predicated on it. Now, I'm not at all persuaded that the fundamental prevailing justification of modern growth policy under capitalism, steadily expanding market. Obviously, the resources of the world are limited. Obviously, the most optimistic estimate I see is this can only go on for 25 years more.
You were saying earlier we're headed for trouble around 1980 or so forth. I hear this from so many people, economists, you're a historian, I hear it from social scientists, from politicians, from lawyers, doctors. Why do you think we're headed for the inevitable crash?
Well, I think that this country has been spared serious social contentions throughout the 20th century, even though the distribution of income has been maldistributed, because we've been exploiting the world. Or put it in graceful terms, we have a favorable international trade and investment balance.
Well, that's what that means.
That's what that means. And that is ending. That is ending as we used to set prices of raw materials in other countries because we own those countries.
Right.
We don't own them anymore. And that's going to set up new forms of competitive pressure on the American economy. Now, our current method of solving that is to have more unemployed. That keeps the distribution of income the same. That cannot go on. We will reach a point of unemployment so high that you will have serious social contentions. And then the issues of populism, the financial question, the basic structure of the economic system will get on the agenda. And I think it'd be good to get on the agenda. The cost will be high, but we need to talk about those matters.
Well, we do indeed. At least we've talked about a little bit tonight. I thank you for being with us. The
it.
book, again, is called The Democratic Promise, The Populist Moment in America. It's a provocative book, and I think as you've detected, it's something we all should think and talk about because it's about where we live today. We'll be right back.